Hi everyone, this Auto AGI is one of the best agents you can use, and now it has voice control. You simply activate it, start another instance of Auto AGI. It can launch other instances of itself. It's doing that right now with function calling. Here we go. Now we're getting another Auto AGI. We can actually start voice control here as well. And we can ask, start another Auto AGI and enter voice as a message. We're going to start another Auto AGI, and it's going to actually enter voice here. When it's launching these, pay attention you don't interfere with it. The voice control here is activated. We have 3 Auto AGIs that says start a swarm and let it debate about the philosophical aspects of free will. So we're going to start a swarm here. So Auto AGI can launch multiple instances of itself. It can also launch a swarm. Currently it's launching a swarm with 3 different system messages. This is going to go on for a while. Let's close this Auto AGI and we're going to get our results in SwarmWorks. This is really interesting. You can exit out of the voice. One of our Auto AGI is working. While it's working, we're going to still work with the other one. You can exit out of the voice control by saying cancel voice control. So it should exit out of it and go back to regular text input. Yeah, we went back to the text input. If you type in help, you get to see all the abilities it has. You can switch to multi-line input. So you can enter multi-line input and let's say done. Well, we haven't said anything. So it's just going to say, how can I assist you? You can also switch from GPT 3.5 back to GPT 4. You can also reset messages. Let's go back to voice and ask it, can you please write a math.py file with 5 math functions in it? So it's going to hopefully do that. It's first going to confirm. And our swarm is still working. It's in the feedback loop communication phase. If you go to swarm.works, debate on free will has its responses written. This is the first iteration, as you see. And then this was the first actual responses. Then we are iterating. If you want to change any one of the properties of Swarm GPT, before I continue, you can download this file from Patreon. The link will be in the description. You can change its config class. Make sure Swarm GPT is your main working directory, and all the other Auto AGI classes are inside the Auto AGI classes, such as the functions it has access to. It also has access to code interpreter by Open Interpreter. We should test that too. When it's starting Auto AGI, it's using PyAuto GUI, and it's actually currently set up to work with my Conda environment. I will set it back to the regular general environment, so you'll have to install all the requirements into your general environment, unless you want to use it with your specific environment. You can also modify this to actually work with Linux systems. You just have to change the command. Okay, I just switched it to back to regular. It's just going to start a command prompt and run the file, right? By the way, our swarm is done, and this is the final synthesized response on the philosophical debate on free. I have made a detailed video on the swarm intelligence and the swarm intelligence blueprint. You can take a look at those. I also have the Swarm Auto AGI video and Swarm Auto AGI superpowers. Swarm Auto AGI was the instance where it has the code interpreter and it can launch instances of itself. And in the latest video before this, I've added the swarm capability to it. You can find all these videos and others at my website, www.echohive.live. You can also find the code download links to this and 150 other projects at my Patreon. I have really interesting projects there. This is all I do every day, to bring you some interesting projects. I'm learning a lot in the same time too. Thank you if you do decide to become a patron. See, I just want to make sure when I first started the Auto AGI, it went into my particular Conda environment. Let's just close this because the swarm is done anyway. When I now activate voice and ask it to start another Auto AGI, it should start Auto AGI and hopefully in the general base environment. Let's see if it's going to work just to make sure. Yeah, okay, it actually works. This is good. Like I said, if you want to change any of this, just look at this function. It also has code interpreter, so I can say start code interpreter. Actually, when you're launching code interpreter, you have to enter a message too in this fashion. Start code interpreter and ask it to read the math.py file. because remember we had asked it to write a math.py file with starting code interpreter, which is powered by open interpreter. It sent a message to it, please read the contents of the file math.py, and code interpreter wants to read that. We're going to say yes, and then it's just going to explain it to us. We could have also asked it to run it or any other number of things that you may want to do. Okay, code interpreter returned its result. Now Auto AGI is returning us its message. I just want to mention so three special abilities that Auto AGI has is the code interpreter, being able to start instances of itself, and also the ability to call the swarm. These functions are automatically translated into function definitions. So just read the doc strings carefully, okay, and change this to fit your specific needs. To call Auto AGI code interpreter or a swarm, you need to ask it to call it with a particular message. For example, let's try again. Let's say we want to launch another instance of Auto AGI. Let's just ask so Auto AGI is going to launch another Auto AGI and ask it to do something, right? You can also just launch an Auto AGI because you can actually do that. But if you're starting a code interpreter or a swarm, you have to send in a message. So I can say, start another instance of Auto AGI, and it should start that. Well, start another Auto AGI. There we go. And it's starting. We can actually cancel this. I can also say, start Auto AGI and ask it to calculate the fifth number of Fibonacci. Let's just try that. Here, see now, previously it sent the message none. Now it's sending the message calculate the fifth number of Fibonacci. Let's see what happens here. This one is going to actually send another message to code interpreter, and then the code interpreter is going to write a function to do that. Okay, so it's just writing a Fibonacci function. We can just cancel this. We can also ask it to launch, say, a swarm, but with a message, right? You can't just say launch a swarm. You say launch a swarm and discuss the differences between, sorry, actually it was accidentally recording. Let's start voice. So when you start voice, you first have to press enter to start recording and then press enter again to indicate that you're done. Start a swarm and ask it to discuss the differences between Django and Fast API. So now it's going to start a swarm with this message, discuss the difference between Django and Fast API. And the way the swarm works, you can actually find more details in the video. Communicating swarm intelligence is that it creates system messages, and each system message generates obviously ideas on the thing that you're asking, and then they will actually look at each other's responses and try to provide a synthesis. This goes on for as many iterations as you've specified here in the swarm GPT.py. For example, how many system messages? Here it's currently default set to 3. That's why we generated 3 system messages. And for different parts of the process, you can set different models. These are the defaults, and we are doing a feedback rounds of 2 and response token length set at 1000. You can feel free to change any one of these. Anyway, now so we are actually running the swarm, and this is going to go ahead and work on this, and our results will be written here in Django versus Fast API comparison, for example. As you see, the first responses are in, and they are written on all responses. After this, the communication part will begin. But I'm going to cancel out of this to demonstrate something else. I don't have to use the voice control, right? I can just type in whatever I like here, both as a single line input or as a multi-line input. Oh, I made a typo, multi, and I can also exit the multi-line input. Anyway, I'm going to go back to voice, and I'm going to ask some complex task. I'm going to ask, write a browse.py file with some web browsing function inside of it. After that, call code interpreter to run the browse.py file to see if it's working. Let's see what happens. Okay, it is going to write the browse.py file. Okay. Let's close these. And okay, we hit this. This is when GPT returns unparsable function call return. This just happens sometimes. There's literally nothing that I could come up with. I am actually using the parsing function, safe JSON loads that Open Interpreter folks came up with, but it just sometimes still fails. So this is just a issue with the GPT-4 returning unparsable content in the function call return. But we're going to try this again. The browse.py file with a web browsing function in it, and then call code interpreter and ask it to run the browse.py file to see if it's working. Okay, hopefully this should work. Let's try it again. Yeah, it seems like this is going to work. And as you saw, see, I asked it to run the code interpreter and then ask it to do something. Okay, just keep that in mind. So browse.py file was written here. It's a very simple one. Just say yes. Okay. I guess it ran it. And so you got no error. Apparently, this just worked. I'm not sure if you were supposed to see a browser or not, but that's about it. Yeah, this is how it works. You can also, actually, let's exit out of the voice mode again. Cancel voice control. You do have to say cancel voice control. We are detecting it and then canceling out of it. You can also insert new system messages in addition to the very simple one. So you can say add system message, adds a new system message to the current. You can just say system message. And I can say always respond as a pirate would, let's say. And you have to say done with multi-line messages. Let's say, how are you? Let's see if it'll, yeah. Okay, see, it's now responding as a pirate. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, the code files will be available for Auto AGI and Patreon. I do have multiple versions of the Auto AGI video. Okay, the original one is right here, Auto AGI, which is available at Patreon in a lower tier. This one only has the read file and write file functions because I feel like that's the most basic tools that agents should need. But then the more advanced versions, like Swarm Auto AGI, with superpowers, which is the Swarm, and now with voice control, is available at the higher tier. Please let me know how you like this content in the comments. And if you like to chat about large language models, please join our Discord. Link will be in the description. Thank you very much.